All right. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Microsoft Copilot in Real Work, Reducing Context Switching Throughout the Day. With me today is Pierre-Yves Delacote, or PY for short. He's a managing architect of our organizational change management practice here at Planet. He likes to describe himself as the advocate of the end users. He's recognized by Microsoft and the Microsoft community to be a great advocate of Copilot, and he is one of the first Microsoft Copilot MVPs. Welcome, PY. More information about today's program, you can always check our blog on this topic that was posted earlier in the week, and we'll provide some useful links for you at the end of this presentation. We will also provide the content you see today in the deck, and we're going to provide that. As you see, you're going to find out there's a fair amount of content today, and you're going to see some things like sample prompts, and you're going to get all this information that you'll be able to take back and learn on your own as well. So let's get started. We'd like to start our program with a couple poll questions here. You're going to see those show up. Poll question number 1, which statement best describes your current Copilot mindset? So if you could take a look at that poll and answer that, we'd love to have your feedback to help in our discussion here today. Next poll question for you as we get started is, which content type do you use Copilot for the most? That one's coming your way here. I'll give you just a minute. All right. Appreciate you answering those. We'll leave those in there for a couple of minutes. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to PY. I'm excited about this content today. It's very practical and relevant for you as Copilot users, and I think you're going to get a lot out of it. PY, it's all yours.
Thank you, Andrew. So I'm going to take over the screen sharing and switch to my computer so I can do some demonstrations. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Pierre-Yves Delacote, and as Andrew mentioned, I have an extensive experience with Copilot. We've been assisting more than 100 customers around Copilot, so in every configuration. And so in GCC, GCCI, more recently commercial, people who just have chat. My goal today is to give you some feedback on the experience we saw being the most successful and real life examples. So I'm going to walk you through some examples of what we see being very successful. And it's really, to me, the success of Copilot is when people are using it every day, all day long. So I'm going to illustrate this journey with some example of prompts and some use cases. So, but I wanted to start first with the title of this session is the context switching has a huge task on us. There's some studies, and you're going to have the slides and you can see the study, but there's some studies that shows that it's really killing productivity. You're switching between apps all the time, and thankfully Copilot can help to decrease this context switching because Copilot is everywhere. So I think Copilot is super powerful for that purpose. You don't have to switch from one application to the other. You are in a PowerPoint presentation, you're looking for an email, you don't have to go to Outlook. You just have to open Copilot and ask, to find the email. Whatever it is, Copilot is everywhere. It's in Outlook, it's in PowerPoint, Word, Excel, everywhere you have Copilot available. So you don't have to context switch all the time. And on top of that, you can search information, you can synthesize information. So it's very beneficial in your workflow. And so it reduces the context switching for sure, but also it can accelerate a lot of your tasks. You know that already. You can, create a lot of things. You can ask a lot of questions regarding your whole environment. And so you can synthesize information that you're looking for that are going to help you to build your content, for example. And that, finally, it will allow you to have more focus. I think the main challenge is to find your use cases, but also it's to understand when you're going to save this time, where you're going to focus. So what task will be beneficial. So if I have to describe a common journey with Copilot, that's where that will be the infographic I will show. So it might depend from one person to the other. We might not be always have the same workflow, but at least this is my workflow, and this is what I've seen with a lot of customers. So you start your day by starting to summarize information. You're starting to read information. Usually most of the people start their day by looking their Outlook, what's going to be my day, and starting to look at their calendar, and then they switch to prioritizing. So what is important in my day? How should I get prepared? And eventually they go to meetings, and they want also to have some benefits of Copilot during the meetings. If they want to follow up or just understand what has been said during meeting because you're late, or whatever reason you want, or whatever question you want to ask during a meeting, you can do that too. Then you're probably going to switch at one point, and maybe not all of us, but into a creative mode, or at least you're going to create some content. And so Copilot can be a huge help to create this content. Some of us are also, making some decision based on data, and so you're probably going to use Copilot to help you to make some decisions. It's not going to make decisions for you. It's just an enabler. It's empowering you. It's not replacing you. So it can help you to understand better data, and I will show some example here. It may be in your day. This is probably one of the biggest challenge for people is to find time to learn new things and explore new things. So you can use definitely Copilot to help you learn new things, to challenge you. You can use it to bounce back ideas and learn new things that you want to do. And some people are dealing with customers, so it's also, you can use Copilot to better understand your customers. What is the context? Every time I'm meeting a new customer, I ask Copilot to give me an overview of this customer, and based on what I'm going to do with this customer. You can definitely brainstorm with Copilot and can give you ideas. It can help you to find new concepts, or challenging you on a certain angle. And when I finish my day, I like to see what I've done and maybe reflect on what I've done, and maybe reflect also on what I can do better. So this is a typical journey that we've seen, and definitely, it takes time for people to adopt all those steps, but it's the goal. It's really to use Copilot all day long, because the gains that you're going to have from each step are little, but when you add them, that's why adoption is so key in a Copilot journey. When you add them, they're huge. So let's start with reading. And reading maybe to decide. So it can be a lot of things. It can be reading your email. It can be reading content. You can ask Copilot to read some content on the internet, help you to summarize an article that you found that you're not sure you want to read the whole article, or a document that has been sent to you, or a thread of emails that is incomprehensible because you have to read through 25 emails. And there's studies that shows that it's highly beneficial, 60% less time on email because of Copilot. So I didn't look at the result of the poll, but if you're an email person, definitely it's going to be highly beneficial. So I wanted to share, and that's going to be my pattern here, to share along this journey some prompt that you can try in your environment. There's a quick prompt, and there's what I call mega or meta prompt that are longer. And I'm going to try some with you today here live. So I'm not going to read them all. You can see them, but I'm going to try this one. Tell me what I will learn reading this content and how much time it will take me to read this content. That's something that I often ask because you want to know if it's valuable to read the content. So let's try that actually on this presentation. So I'm going to, and I'm not context switching here. I'm in the document, and I can ask Copilot to give me a feedback on the document itself. Here is the example is in the document, so it can be in Word, in PowerPoint, it can be obviously in email, and right away I have an answer. So I don't have to context switch, or I don't have to think, what I'm trying to look at. I'm in my context. I don't want to switch context. Here, I could also ask to look if there's some documents related to this document that can help me to better understand this document, or if I have to rewrite it, maybe change it. So that's an example of context switching. So I'm going to go on in this mode so you can see my demonstration. So then, planning your day, I'm not going to do any demonstration because I don't want to show you any planet information, but definitely that's what I've seen people using the most is, using Copilot against your emails, your meetings, and understanding, what you can do and how you can get organized. So there's simple prompt like this one. What do I have this week? Organize meeting into categories. So it helps you to triage a little bit your priorities, and you can expand this prompt to give more context. And I'm going to show you a huge prompt that is definitely very beneficial. And I don't know if you're aware of that, but this prompt, so planning your day, you might want to plan your day every day. So once you find your very good prompt like this one, you can tweak it to make it your own or change it a little bit. But once it's good for you, you can just schedule it. So then it becomes a prompt that runs every morning, and you get an email every morning with the result of your prompt. And so you don't have to context switch. It's already run for you. It's scheduled. So this is a feature also that is super useful. When you find a good prompt, a recurring prompt, don't forget to schedule it. So here, as you can see, I give a lot of details, and this is what we do with our customers in our engagement. We teach the heart of the prompt. So there's ways to prompt that are more efficient than others. And obviously, the more context you give, the more details you give, who should you be, Copilot? So I give the persona that Copilot should use. Here it's an enterprise productivity assistant. Then I define my goal, and then I define the task. And here with this prompt, I can identify if, for example, if my day is too stretch, I can identify what I can delete or defer. I can tell you that there's a rare log for delete items, but I can definitely delegate or defer based on what's going to discover, where it's going to look. So also I ask where to find information. So this is a really useful prompt, and I encourage everybody to try it. So let's say now I'm ready to do my job after reading and planning, but I'm still need to prepare some meetings. I have a meeting, it's coming soon. I have this YouAlreadyOwnIt meeting, so maybe I can run this prompt. So I'm going to ask, help me prepare to, and there's another prompt I didn't put here, is when I have a kickoff with a customer, I ask a question, give me tough questions that the customer can ask me. So here I say, help me prepare for a review of this presentation So you can adjust it depending on what you're looking at. Add a list of potential questions business leader might have. So you can also decide, who's your audience. So a pretty powerful, another pretty powerful prompt. And and it's gonna, here you see I can switch to quick answer. There's a capability to think deeper or to be quick, depending on your urgency. If my meeting is in 2 minutes, I'm probably gonna choose the quick. But I will have less information. But if I'm maybe 15 minutes before, I'm going to let it choose. And if it's better to think deeper, I'll let him think deeper. So it might take some more time to find the right appropriate result. But let's run it. I have the result here. And I can see how so it's capable, when you think deeper, it's capable of reasoning. So and you can see how you reason over your document. So, and here's the potential business leader's question, so I can be prepared for the question I can have regarding this document. And whatever document, again, I'm showing here in PowerPoint in this deck because it's convenient, but you can do that everywhere. Obviously, you have other prompts that you can do. So before, during, or after the meeting. One prompt I like to use and probably use in the meeting is, what has been said so far, because sometimes we're late to meetings and that's very useful. But there's other things where we want to capture what has been said during the meeting. We want to capture the decision that has been made. We want to capture if, for example, I was assigned to any task in this meeting. And obviously, you can do that on a meeting or on several meetings, and you can do that after the meeting and also during the meeting. So again, those prompts will be shared with you so you can try them. I find them very useful. So when creating content, also it's a very beneficial. Some surveys are showing, or studies are showing that it's faster to create content with the help of Copilot. That's definitely my case. I build a lot of content. You might see that I have a YouTube channel. I have a LinkedIn, also a LinkedIn where I publish a lot of content, and I create a lot of content for my customers. And that definitely saved my day. And the quality, not just saving time, but also the quality is way better. So here are some examples of prompt where you can, obviously, what I heard most of the time, especially for new users, where they find a lot of benefits in Copilot is when they're drafting an email and they want to make it better. And so they use Copilot to do that, change the tone and be more confident, be more concise, find a new angle to, way you communicate. That's really beneficial. So I put some prompts here, depending on what you're doing. If you're, just drafting an email, creating a Word document, you can create a PowerPoint presentation. And again, that can be done everywhere. I don't know if everybody's aware, but when you're in Copilot in the chat interface, you can also ask Copilot to create a document. I saw a recent demonstration. It doesn't work yet in my environment, but where you can even say, create a document, and you can reference whatever source you want and use my corporate template, and you can upload your corporate template. It will create your PowerPoint presentation based on this corporate template. So it's enhancing all the time. Microsoft is adding new features all the time. It's hard to follow the pace, but it's going in this ubiquitous of presence of Copilot to do everything. As long as there is text somewhere, Copilot can do something. So you'll find more and more features in Copilot coming along the way, and it's going to be more ubiquitous. There's going to be more and more suggestions to help you, not think too much, and with some prompt suggestions. So it's really, really getting powerful, and it's not going to stop. So here is another mega prompt. When I create content, I want to get some, especially as you might hear my accent, my French accent, pardon my French. That's definitely helping me a lot. But I guess it can help even for native English speakers. And here I'm going to take this prompt and I'm going to run it against this presentation. So here, basically, I'm asking to figure out if it's well written for an ESL individual, but you can't find another angle the way you want to ask. Maybe ESL is not your angle. Maybe it's another angle. So I'm going to run this one. And I'm going to see how I can improve this document. I can check if I made any mistakes in misspelling or grammatical errors, and I can guarantee I do a lot of those. But also I can check if it's I use too many times some terms or words. And so basically I ask to proofread all my document, and I see all the suggestions that are listed here. So apparently I could have done a better job writing this slide deck. So now, analyzing data for people who are dealing with data can be super, and Microsoft made huge progress recently with Excel agent. But even before, there was a lot of benefits. And I'm going to show you two things. I'm not going to run them live because analyzing data can take time. But you can, take an Excel file and ask to make sense of this Excel file. Or you can ask questions challenging the Excel file or extracting some information from the Excel file without knowing at all Excel. And this is super powerful, I will say, for people who are crunching data. This is huge. Behind the scene, it's using Python, and so there's some capabilities that are they're blowing me away. No, I'm going to give you an example of a work that in the past was taking me probably 2 days, and now in an hour I have a result. So let's switch to my example here. So simple example here where I have a survey and I say, review. So that was one of the prompts I shared. Review this survey, in fact, and create a single executive summary. So I have a summary on the document, and even I can, because I'm going to talk about that in the next slides, but I can also ask to frame the result in a certain way. So every prompt I write, I want to have a result and to tell me, how much time I'm going to read the result. But here is a summary of the survey, and it does a magnificent job of looking at all the results of the data set in the survey and making sense of it in a way that is convenient for me or interesting. So I can say I can adjust this prompt with certain angles of what I'm looking for. Here I'm asking to make an exec summary, to identify common themes, are there conflicting findings, and what are the recommendations. The things to remember, I never, ever, and it's my real life, never take this for granted. I always check some facts, and I always put my voice somewhere in the result. So that's why basically, if I was running this prompt and getting the result, I could do copy paste, and it's not a matter of 10 minutes. It's a matter of few seconds, under a minute to get this result. But I still have to work to check the result is consistent. And if it's, maybe, going the way I want to be framed, and maybe I'm going to reprompt to add a few things. Maybe I'm going to iterate a little bit to add more to it. Another example, and that's available, in all environments. Everybody can do that. Even with Copilot Chat, you can do that without a license. Now, for the people, maybe you don't know analysts. It's a Microsoft Copilot agent that is by default, and now it's even in GCCI. I discovered that yesterday. It landed in GCCI. So this one is capable of deep reasoning. So it can take 15 minutes. So that's why I'm not going to run it live. And it does, you see the 31 steps it took to reason over the same data set. But on top of that, it was able to give me some graphics. In the survey, we ask, how people are using the technology and what is critical for them. And here I have a very nice uh, chart, and I can guarantee you that I'm not able to do that in Excel. I don't even know, because the data is structured a way that it's very difficult to do that in Excel if you're not an expert. Here, I don't have to think about it. And sometimes, the formatting is not good. So that's why you need to have some eyes on it, on the result, because sometimes it doesn't interpret well either your prompt or your data. And it's another insight is sometimes if you want Copilot to cooperate well, there's two things that are important. The first one is learn how to prompt. Three things: iterate to adjust your prompt. And the third one is, if you have bad data, there's a good chance that you're going to have bad results. So, what we say garbage in, garbage out is very important. But here it does this, for example, this one is, I had to go before to add this chart. I had to export my Excel file in Power BI and do some things in Power BI to see this view. And it was very complicated for me because I'm not even an expert in Excel and not in Power BI. I guess super expert in Excel and Power BI can do that very easily, but most of the people don't. So it opens capabilities that I didn't have before. And again, I don't have to switch in Excel here. I have the result here, and I can even take this and they say, okay, all these results looks nice. I want to create a report. I can open a page, edit that in a page, and then make it a PowerPoint presentation. So in the flow of your work, the context switch happens here. Oh, but it didn't work. But the context switch happens here, but it leads you to the application without you to have to select the application or think about it. So it's super, super powerful. Let's go back to the slides. And again, I encourage you to try some of those prompts on your own data and, play with those prompts and adjust them to your content, adjust them to what you're looking for. You're definitely going to find a way to get good results. Don't forget that sometimes it's not framed the way you want. Don't forget that sometimes it makes errors. There's, you need to treat Copilot like an intern who has a PhD, but an intern, when you don't orient your intern the right way, you might have bad results. And also sometimes, it's the LM is not perfect. So maybe at the end of the day, we're already at the end of the day. You want to reflect on your day or review what you've done. So here are a few prompts that can be very helpful. So either you can surface all your content that you've done during the day, or the meetings you attended, or the emails you received. There's so many ways you can prompt. The sky is the limit in terms of prompts. So that's why there's no one set of prompts that's going to work for everybody. It's always, the skill you need to acquire are the prompting skills, and that's the only way to acquire them. Here, I'm just trying to jumpstart some ideas, but the only way to acquire them is to be open, try them. You're going to fail for some of them, but you need to, and you learn from your mistakes. That's a process. That's the change of mindset that is needed when you're using Copilot. I was saying playing because for me it's just almost a game. So I can use this prompt. What is the tone of this document? That's another thing where I can review one thing. I presented this deck, or I'm going to present this deck, but depending on your context, I can ask this question. what is the tone of this document, and what 3 feelings will someone walk away with after reading? There's the next one. I cannot show you that because it will disclose too much information on my side. But this one, I love this one, and I run it maybe monthly, and it's a way to do some introspection. How do you communicate with your team, with your managers, your customers, a large group or a small group? And can you give me some insights or I can improve? So you can ask a lot of things because you can surface everything you have access to. So here it says, what does it say? It's instructional, it's practical, it's encouraging tone. Overall of the document, tone characteristic, pragmatic, instructional, so give me some details. It's pretty encouraging. So I think I did a good job according to Copilot. But you can see there's other prompts where you can try them with different objectives there, different goals. But sometimes you can be very, you put Copilot in a position to be someone and to do something, and it's really powerful when you tell Copilot incarnate somebody, incarnate an expert in whatever subject, and it makes a huge difference when you ask to be a persona, when you ask Copilot to be a persona, because it adjusts his knowledge to what you're asking for. So here's another mega prompt. So that's what I'm doing. Act as my productivity assistant. I'm preparing to go on holiday. That's something I did when I went out in my last holiday. I want to prepare my team. I want to tell them, what I was working on, and I want them to be aware of critical tasks that needed to be done while I'm not there. So this has been, and all those prompts, they're not all coming from me. It's examples I've seen, and some are coming from my customers where they find great prompts. So this is a mega prompt where you can delegate a lot of things, or at least you can transfer a lot of things, but you explain the context. You explain that the Copilot should be a productivity assistant. And my goal is to prepare for a holiday for a period of time. So now do what I'm asking. It's another, and I'm asking a lot of things here. Also, I say, hey, draft out of office messages for and stakeholder notification based on my calendar and recent communication. So you can see this again. The sky is the limit in terms of what you can provide in your prompt. So let's talk about how we recommend our customers to apprehend, and I will say more than our customers, the users we meet with, how to apprehend where Copilot can be beneficial for them. So I would recommend to identify where your attention leaks. So maybe also where you wasting time. There's an approach I like that is pretty successful also on top of this, is to ask people, what do you really hate to do every day? And let's see if Copilot can help there. And so focus on where you're losing attention and try to map what Copilot can do related to either where you're losing time, where it's repetitive, or where you're losing attention. Then try prompts. This is a game of trying. So I didn't find all those prompts the first day I used Copilot. It took me, I've been using Copilot for more than 2 years. I'm still making my prompt different. Almost every month, I change my prompts because I learn new things, because the model is evolving, because there's more capabilities. So it's a constant learning journey, but you need to start. You need to try, and it's fine if it's not working. It doesn't mean it's never going to work. It means either you need to better understand how to communicate with Copilot, or it means that the model is not yet that. It can mean a lot of things, but if you don't try it, you won't be able to succeed. So try new prompts every week. See how it works. See if it's successful. Iterate on your prompt to fine tune your prompt, and then try to. It's hard, but try to measure if it helped you to save time. I know it's hard to figure out, for example, how much time you saved on your emails, but when you think about it, that's a good way to guess what is your personal return investment. But I can guarantee that the more you try, the more you're going to have a return investment, or personal return investment. There's some dashboard that Microsoft is providing that can, evaluate based on the number of prompts you're doing, and what categories you're doing, and how much time you're going to save. That's another indicator. But from a personal standpoint, that's, try to measure that yourself and see, if you save time at the end of the day or at the end of the week. And don't forget, refinement is key. So it's a learning experience. Again, I rarely do a good prompt the first time. So I have to run several iterations and try to find, and usually at the end, when I finally, so I iterate, I make maybe 5 prompts to find, the right result. And if the result is good, is what I'm expecting, but I know that I'm going to need to write this prompt again, I don't want to go through these 5 iteration of prompts. So what I ask Copilot, I say, summarize a good prompt that will have giving me this result right away. And it will give you the prompt. And then you can save this prompt or even schedule it. So in terms of out of a prompt, there's some best practices. There's a lot of framework out there. So you might find another framework than this one, but let's talk about some concepts. So be specific with your purpose. It's really key for Copilot to understand your intent. It will help definitely to get a better result. Define how you want the result to be formatted. So sometimes you might want tables, you might want bullet points. Define the format. Sometimes you want graphics, so you need to tell that you want graphics. Tell what tone you want, or even what style you want. I'm going to show you an example at the end how I write my blog. Include constraints. So, tell Copilot, not to go too wide, but what are the constraints that you want to provide in your prompt. And this is very important because it's not the Copilot doesn't inject all your documents that you have access to. That's what we call a context window that is limited with what we call a number of tokens. So it cannot inject all the information, obviously. So the more you scope and tell where to look to Copilot, the better it's going to be beneficial. So if you're trying to boil the ocean, it's going to be hard. If you help Copilot to understand exactly with some constraints what you're looking at, what it should look at, you're going to have better results. And iterate and refine, I'm not going to repeat that. It's very important. And finally, when you have a good prompt, save it. You have a way to save your prompt, and you even have a way to schedule your prompt. If you think that it's a valuable prompt that you want to run regularly, like, prep my day, that's a prompt you might want to do. Or a prompt for project managers is what happened on this project yesterday. And so every morning you have an email that tells me what happened yesterday. So those are some best practices regarding the prompting. The last tip, and I hope I'm not going over time here, but I'm sure that Andrew will tell me. Last tip that I've seen not a lot of people are aware of, so it's not available in all platforms. It's not available in GCI yet, but there's a concept that is important that is called, I think in ChatGPT, it's called, oh shoot, I forgot the name of it. But it's a way to tell Copilot, I don't want to repeat myself every time I'm prompting. I want you to do this every time I'm prompting. So here I'm giving mine. I say, you know, I want you every time I prompt, I want you to visualize the result with bullet points or tables when it applies. I want you to be concise. I don't want M dash. I hate M dash because it shows obviously this is when you're going to see an email, a document where there's M dash everywhere or emojis, you can be sure that it has been created by generative AI. It's not that I'm ashamed to create content with generative AI. It's more that I don't want to introduce doubt in the reader mind. So I say, you know, I don't want this. Start with an exact summary. What is to me very important, it doesn't work all the time, but most of the time, I said, please, if you don't find accurate information, don't invent it. This is typical of generative AI. It wants to please you. It's using what is called sycophancy. So it's trying to please you with an answer. That's why I said, don't use sycophancy. I hope I pronounced it well. But so here you can see, and also write content so initial individual, because to me it's important. I could also have added, and maybe I will add in the future, write content for neurodivergent people, so it's easy to read by neurodivergent people. Whatever your criteria are, and you don't want to ask them for every prompt you're doing, you put that here. So let me show you where it is. So when you're in Copilot, you have in the settings here, personalization, and that's the custom instruction. So here you can see I just copy paste this, and that's what is around every time I'm writing a prompt. And you can even put some branches, because here I said somewhere, I said, if I'm asking to write a LinkedIn article, let me check, it's too small here. Yeah, when asked to write a blog or a LinkedIn article, use my style, and I define my style. So everybody has a different style. This is my style. You can discover my style. And also, it gives you some suggestions of what you could add in your custom instructions. So we can try that. I'm not going to use I'm going to do a quick response to be able to show quickly. But if I say, write a LinkedIn article based on this document, so it should be able, I didn't try it, so probably it will work, but it should be able to look at my custom instruction and adjust them. So as you can see, it's very direct. Monday morning, inbox exploding, team message, because I described in my, when I write a LinkedIn article, I want short sentences. I want it to be direct. I want to be practical, etc., etc. So now I have my blog pretty quickly. It's just amazing. And again, I never take this and put it on LinkedIn as my blog article. I review all the time. This 100% of the time I review the content. And 100% of the time I change the content. So just to finish, some recommendation. To be successful with Copilot, start with quick wins. Don't try to make things that are very complicated. You know, I know that when we have that kind of tool, the first reaction is to say, "Oh, I'm going to try to do these complex things that takes me hours, and I'm going to try it right away." If you do that, you're going to be frustrated probably, and users going to be frustrated. So, you know, help them to start somewhere there where they get value really right away, and that's was the purpose of this presentation and those prompts that you can try. Uh, and then you can expand it with experience. Focus on, you know, what is repetitive, and don't assume that it's going to improve every of your process. That's not true. The people needs to still be in the loop. The other key thing is, to me, there's no success if you just deploy Copilot and think that people are going to succeed by using it. You need training. You need to orient people. That's what we do all the time in our SIM engagements. We orient people. We jumpstart their experience. We orient them with their use cases. We give them some example of prompts like that. I have a library of 150 prompts that people can try. We encourage people to share their good prompt. This is what I call collective intelligence. People are going to find good prompts, and I always learn from my customers. They share good prompts, good ideas, good use cases. I've never thought about them before because I'm I'm a consultant, so I cannot understand all the personas that can be in an organization. So you always find new prompts, but they need to be shared. And so it's very the fact that you're sharing is enabling people, and or maybe it can trigger an idea of, oh, I saw this prompt, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for my role, but I can maybe adjust this prompt to my role or my needs, and measure, because we cannot say this is a success if you don't measure anything. So there's different ways to measure. There's, dashboards, there's surveys. Basically, everybody can measure itself what's working for them or not. But I think it's important to track what you're doing. Finally, I think it's you're gonna see those issues. I've seen those issues. That's why I'm saying if you just enabling Copilot is not going to work. I will say 70% of the time it's not going to work. So when you have bad results, that means people were not trained properly on prompt engineering. When there's a low usage, it's probably because people don't understand how it can apply to their day-to-day job, and again, they were not trained on specific things they can do. When there's a low return investment, that's the same thing. You have high return investment when it's applied to specific use cases. When the result is confusing, it's probably because bad data hygiene, where there's too much, there are duplicates, or your environment is a mess. And to be honest, most of our environments are a mess. So it's not easy, but it's your chance to tell people, if you want to have a good result, maybe it's a time to do some cleaning. When people have you're going to have some wrong behavior. So, you need to build best practices and policy some guardrails and educate users around those. You will have some people resistance. In every transformation, there's resistance. So what I've seen very often in terms of resistance, it comes a lot from managers, but coach them. It's hard to train them in a group. It's better to coach the resistance, especially managers, so they can understand, and also take advantage of your community. So build a community, what we call a champions community, or change agents, so they can help their peers. If the quality is decreasing, definitely people need to understand how to prompt and how to fact check. That can happen where you can see that people are producing content maybe quickly now, but the quality is not there because they didn't check exactly the result. They just take the result and copy paste it or generate the content without fact checking. If you have a low adoption, leverage the champions. The only way for large organization to succeed and scale is to go through champions, because champions can translate what they learn in their own use cases, their peer use cases, in their own language with their own verbiage that another person or a peer can understand better. And if there are security or issues or concerns, definitely, debunk some myths. There's a lot of myths out there. There was a lot of recent bashing also, and a lot of this is a myth. And also train people on how, you protect your information. There's different ways to protect your information. Labeling is one, putting the right permission, don't overshare. There's best practices. So just to finish and come back on the context switching, as you can see, since Copilot is everywhere, and I just scratched the surface when I demonstrate this, but this is huge, and this is a big differentiator with ChatGPT. With ChatGPT, you constantly copy-paste. So, here, I think that's the interest, one of the interests, not just that, the security aspect, obviously, but one of the interests is the integration with Microsoft 365. You don't have to switch somewhere in whatever apps, and you want access to something else in another apps. You don't have to switch the other apps. Just ask Copilot to get the information for you. I think that's it for me. Hope it was insightful.
Thanks, PY. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and share again here as we wrap up today. I know we got about 4 minutes left. We've had a pretty lively chat, and there's some questions got in. Ken, I'll ask you real quick. Is there any questions maybe that we haven't addressed or got answered that we want to ask PY here while we transition, close out?
Yeah, I try to answer most of them in the chat window. I think one that would be interesting to everybody. Well, one, thank you for those who put their prompts in the window. If there's others before the session ends, go ahead and throw them in there as well. We'd love to see them. They really help everybody out. But the one question I thought would be interesting for the crowd would be any advice when a prompt should be a chat agent versus a Copilot Studio agent? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I kind of answered it in the chat window, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
I appreciate all the feedback in the chat there too. PY, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. It opens to a lot of discussion, but
yeah, it does.
But to me, at this stage, if you go to Copilot Studio, you need to be tech savvy. Yeah. And Copilot Studio is more aimed to do tasks agents. So that means you're going to put a workflow, you're going to ask Copilot to do things. A retrieval agent, I think that was what you call the chat agent. A retrieval agent can be done by anybody. The benefit of a retrieval agent is to scope only on the knowledge you want it to scope. You don't want the agent to be polluted by anything else. Right. You want it to focus on a set of data. You know that's your source of truth, or you can say that. And so it's pretty user-friendly, easy to create. You don't have to know Power Platform. You just have to know how to write good instructions. And I have a recommendation for everybody. I struggle sometimes to write good instructions. What I do, I go in Copilot and I said, this is what I'm trying to do. Give me an example of good instruction I can put in my declarative agent. And it gives a very structured way to write my custom instructions. So yeah, the difference between Copilot, what was called Light before, now I don't know, it's agent below, they're changing the name all the time. But between this and Copilot Studio, the full version, to me, is more a matter of skills and also a matter of what you're trying to do. If you want to do task agents or autonomous agent, you have to go to Copilot Studio. There's no other way. If you just want to focus on some data with some instruction, a retrieval agent in Copilot Studio Lite or Agent Builder is enough.
Gotcha.
Thanks, PY.
That's good. As we wrap up here, one poll question just to be thinking about, right? What you've taken away today and what you can do to, further enhance, your own productivity on Copilot journey. We've covered some of the questions here today. Again, you have our program email address. Feel free to always email us. Remind everyone of member benefits. So if you haven't onboarded to the program, we'd love to have you do that. We have 20 workshops, at least 20 workshops, and we'd love for you to get benefits out of this. There's no selling and no contracts involved in this program. It's our investment to support you. And this is just a slide here listing our current workshops. Of course, we have our monthly cloud office hours as well, newsletters and blogs. Please keep up with that. Take this back and share within your organization. And we have some free Copilot chat training. Check out a link here. You can go check that out coming up tomorrow, actually, as we wrap up this month's Copilot chat training. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to stop the recording here. Thanks again for joining today. Here's some links. Be sure to follow PY on his YouTube channel. A lot of great information there, and he's just a great practitioner in the work that he does here. Next office hours, March 26th, 1 p.m., formulating the content, the topic for that. So save the date for that, and we'll be pushing out the information and our newsletter content. Last but not least, how do we do? Please give us some indication. Your feedback really helps drive what we do and information that we present here in this program. Appreciate everyone joining today. Thanks, PY, for joining. Ken, being the co-host today. That's a wrap for today. See you next month.